Fatih, Akin. Y el moderador de esta tarde, Daniel Cambio.
Hola, gracias. Buenas tardes. Bienvenido aquí.
Buenas tardes.
So, Fatih, can you tell us a little bit about what was the most important part of your early film education?
What was my most important part of my early film education? I think it was watching films. I guess so. Yeah.
Any in particular that you watched as a very young man or as a child that made a deep impression on you?
Yeah, I was. I had a cousin back in the early '80s. His mother was the sister of my father, and they had a bath tube, and we don't have that, you know. So we just had a shower. So once a week at Sundays, we were visiting my auntie's place in Hamburg, and my cousin had this Super 8 projector that was before the video players, and he had this roll of Bruce Lee films. You know, there was one particular called, in German it's Todesgrüße aus Shanghai, I think it's Fist of Fury in English, the second Bruce Lee film, and he had the first roll of that, 15 minutes. And so whenever my brother and me went to visit them, they cut down the curtains, you know, and they streamed the film on a cupboard on a wall, and I saw, I don't know, I was like 5 or 6, seeing Bruce Lee beating the shit out of all these Japanese guys. When you're like 5 or 6 and you see Bruce Lee doing all this, it's like taking speed or something. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, that really charged me up. That was the one experience, and the other one was. So the other experience was, I had another cousin, and they had to first rent a video store in Hamburg, and sometimes they were babysitting. This family was babysitting us. And so me and my brother, who's elder than me, we were in this family, you know, and their children were much older than me, so they didn't really play with us. They just gave us like a catalog of films, because all the films they had in the store, they also had at home. And I want to see like Disney films. I was a child, 8 years old. I would like to see comedies and stuff, but my brother was like, no, we're gonna watch Zombie by Romero, and, you know, Man Eater, and all these slasher films. And when you're 8 years old and you see all these, I don't know, eating people up, it traumatizes you. So I had to get rid of the trauma. So I think at that early age I decided to become a filmmaker, to see how they do this shit.
Watching those films, did you ever want to make like an action film, like when you were older? You know, watching those Bruce Lee films, did it ever occur to you to leave this auteur genre, and this art house genre, and do something completely different, like an action film?
When I was a child, I didn't know about auteur films. I just thought action films and horror films are existing. I wanted to do that stuff, so I turned to that stuff because I don't know why, you know, it just happened. You know, yeah, I wanted to do that kind of cinema. When I was getting older, when I got a teenager, I discovered like the art house cinema. I discovered the Turkish cinema because my parents watched a lot of Turkish films at home. You know, I saw a lot of Yilmaz Güney films when I was like 14, 15, 16 at that age. You know, and I was always a nerd in my class. You know, because all the kids went to Blockbusters. You know, and I was like, I was the one who was watching Peter Weir films, you know. He's here, and or I don't know, other stuff than my mates in school watched. You know?
And of those early directors, whom do you admire the most?
Scorsese.
Scorsese.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your contact with him over the years?
I think the first Scorsese film I saw was Taxi Driver. It was in cinema. There was a screening, you know, a revival screening, and I was working in a cinema when I was like 17, and I was selling popcorn and ice cream and stuff. And I could see all the films. That's why I chose to work in a cinema. And I saw all these. It was a kind of like a festival of the great masterpieces and stuff. You know, Last Tango of Paris. All these kind of films. You know, Apocalypse Now, Blade Runner. And I saw Scorsese's film there, Taxi Driver. And somehow that film had something what had a certain magnetism on me. And so I started to read a lot about Scorsese when I was like a teenager, and made a list of all the films that I had to watch. And whenever I had to, that was before the DVD and before the stream, whenever I had the possibility to see a Scorsese film, I watched them all over the year. And before I made my very first film, Short Sharp Shot, you know, I discovered Mean Streets. And Mean Streets had this, it was not that, oh, I wanted to do a film like Mean Streets, or, you know, it was more like, hey, this is about Italians, this is about immigrants, this is about, I don't know, crooks and street life, and about religion, you know. So I could identify myself a lot with that. There was somebody who seems to console me or understand me, you know, that religion can be part of cinema, you know, your neighborhood can be part of cinema, your ethnic background can be part of cinema. So my first film, Short Sharp Shot, was very inspired by mine.
Are the troubled heroes from your early films a reflection of yourself or the people that you grew up with in Hamburg?
I was watching all kinds of films, in a way, everything I tried to get. But, you know, I was growing up in the 80s, you know, and in the 80s, with video stores and rented videos, the access you had were mostly American films, like French films, Italian films, German films. I mean, German films I always watch on television, you know, the classics and the recent films, you know, that's something else. But Turkish films, later on like Iranian films, much later like Asian films other than martial arts, I discovered later, you know, I discovered them after I was like 18 or 19, you know, and I still do. I still watch all kind of stuff and let me inspire from all kind of stuff. But I have to say that, you know, it's like, if I want or not, the cinema which was the closest to me is because I'm a storyteller, you know, that's what I really am. And if I wouldn't do films, I would maybe do literature, but I think I would do trivial shit, you know what I mean? I wouldn't do like sophisticated art kind of stuff. It inspires me always, and I like to see it, and sometimes I can grab something from anywhere, but my cinema is different than just the auteur.
Did you find a lot of characters from the people that you grew up with? Were they the people that you knew? Were they gang members? Were they rough people?
Yeah, sure. They still appear in my films until today. And people I've grown up with, you know. Adam Bostukos, the main guy from Soul Kitchen, he was one of the 3 actors in Short Sharp Shot, my first film. He's like my best friend. I know him since we were like 10 years old. And yeah, I still work with him. And when I'm in the neighborhood, I have like, if I want to do it like the real thing, I pick them up from time to time. Yes, I do that.
Mm-hmm. And how did you escape, you know, from becoming another troubled youth, like in your neighborhood? How did you escape the gangs?
I was not a very tough guy, you know. I had like glasses, and I was very skinny, and I was a nerd. Just films, you know. And the neighborhood was was a neighborhood with criminals, but everybody liked me somehow in the neighborhood. You know, it's like, there's this crazy film guy. You know, so because when I was a teenager, I had access to a camera, and I made a very, very, very early short film when I was like 14 or 15 about the gang members, and they really liked that. You know, like that they had something they could present. So that was a way to not get beaten up. You know.
There seems to be like a lot of accidental murders or unintended manslaughters or unexpected deaths in your film. What role does fate play in your films, and what role has fate played in your life?
You mean fate as religion or
No,
like
fate.
destiny? Fate.
Like destiny.
I don't want to be this Oriental kind of guy, you know, like, I actually don't know in what to believe or not, everything moves in circles, maybe, and sometimes there is a period where fate had a, stronger influence. And when I did films like In July, that was my second film. I was more like into that, But after like a film like Head On, I was more like down to the ground and, like realism and kind of stuff. Life is sometimes, you all know that something happened in your life, and if somebody else would do a film about it, nobody would believe it. So I benefit from that. Yeah.
Because in Head On, the main character, one of the main characters, he hits someone at a bar and he ends up killing them, right?
Yeah.
But it's a complete accident.
Shit happens. Yeah.
That's it. It's not fate. It shit happens.
Yeah. I think. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Plus, I'm writing a screenplay and I have to create a drama. And okay, how can we let that guy die? And so,
And you had to get him in jail, and you had to move the plot along, I guess.
Yeah. Somehow I had to get the guy in jail. Yeah.
That's something I wanted to mention. A lot of your characters seem to be leaving incarceration. And we had it last night with the husband. That's how it starts, with him leaving leaving prison to get married. Why do so many of your characters end up in prison and are leaving prison at one point in their story?
I don't know, maybe I have the desire to get in prison myself, so finally I have time to read some more books, so, or watch more films. I never have time for anything, it's like, I have such a list of books, and it's growing and growing, and I read every day, but I'm a very slow reader, and I was like, okay, if I would go to jail, I could read this, all the books were waiting to read, all the Dostoevskys, all the Celines, I don't know, Madame Butterfly, all this stuff waited to be read, Maybe it's that, or maybe it's also like a general theme in my films is freedom. Freedom is very important for me, also in my personal life, and to express freedom on a visual way, the absence of freedom, can I don't know, give a value on freedom. I think that's one of the reasons too, why prisons appear so much. It's because of freedom.
You mentioned that you allow the actors in your films to deviate from the script from time to time.
Yeah, not too much.
Yeah.
But
Do you still do that now? Is that something that you still employ, or was that something you were doing earlier in your career?
it depends on the actor.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have a great actor with a fantastic face, with a great, appearance, with a physical power, but this person is very, not too smart. And then you have to explain it everything. You go 2 steps there, then you turn the head there, you say the line, just say the line, and then go back. Sometimes if the actor is like that, you work like that. But sometimes if the actor is, and I know what I'm doing, and he shows me something where I would never think about, then I let the actor or the actress, especially Diane, do their thing, It really depends on the actor, yes.
Do you think, as you've gotten older and you're working with more experienced actors, this is happening less and less, that you deviate from the script or that you give them this freedom?
No, I think that never changed. Somehow what changed was when I started early, you know, I made my first feature film at 22, and I had all these heroes in my mind, and method acting, and you have to suffer and all this shit, you know. Today I'm not like that, you know. If they make me believe, I don't care which technique the actor used, you know. So, and I still mix, I don't know, professional actors with non-actors. You know, like a lot of actors in the Fate are not actors. The judge, the guy who looks like Judge Roy Bean, you know, he's a real judge. You know, the persecutor, he's real, you know. A lot of police officers who have like small lines here and there, they're real, you know. And it helped Diane to create this authenticity when they are, I don't know, surrounded by real persons.
At what point do you begin to consider the music that you're going to use in each of your films?
I try to know how this film should sound like so early as possible, because
The right stage?
Yeah, the stage, even before, you know, to music is always for me key to get in the right emotion, or to get in the right rhythm, or to get in the right mood of what I'm writing, you know. So yeah, it's very early, very early.
What has been your craziest shoot? It was just in terms of difficulty or length or amount of time that you had to shoot.
I don't know. It's like there's strange wisdom in filmmaking, you know. What the elderly guy says, and I think it's true, you know. So the more you suffer while you're shooting a film, the film which come out is the better film. And if you just party and hang around and everything is nice and everybody make love to each other, and you are always in time and you don't have too many problems, the film is not that good then, you know. And I made that experience, guys. And it's when you judge my films and there are films you like more than the others, you know, okay, here they just did the party and here they really suffered, man.
In the credits of Edge of Heaven, you give thanks to Guillermo Arriaga. What has been the extent of your collaboration with him?
At that time, the cinema had a kind of like a trend or a fashion, you know, like playing with time, you know, jiggling with time, and you know, like start the film in the middle and end it at the beginning or whatever. And some of the best handcraft guys who made that were Inarritu and Arriaga, you know. Amores Perros had a very strong impact on my work. I think Head On was very much influenced by, even if it's a chronological story, you know, it was very influenced by Amores Perros, you know, in everything the film had somehow. And through the success of Head On, I had the chance to meet Inarritu and Arriaga. Somehow we liked each other and we respected each other and we stayed in touch. And when I came to Mexico, because one part of my family, you know, my mother's family, my wife's family is Mexican, I visited Guillermo Arriaga in La Ciudad, and I had an early screenplay with me, and he read it, and he gave me advices, and over the weeks and months we met in several places, like in Paris and here and there, whenever he came to Europe. So he helped in a way, you know, to become the script, because The Edge of Heaven is, I think, the only film I did who's playing with this time, you know, and see there, you know, I work with Guillermo, and 1, 2, 3, I get Best Screenplay Award in Cannes, you know, so and when I was in the jury in Cannes, he had a film in competition, Tommy Lee Jones did, and we give him Best Screenplay Award, you know, so it's, we're hermanos, no? I mean, like...
Do you think that a more globalized world where political and cultural borders are diminished or less defined is a healthier world?
I don't know. I mean, it's the nature of progress, of technique and humanity, globalization, you know. It's, wherever there is a progress, you know, it has, like everything, some disadvantages, you know. In all kind of, I mean, where's light, there's shadow, you know, and I cannot say I'm really strict against globalization and fuck the G20 and stuff like this, you know. I can understand that, but, you know, I believe in that one day, you know, very romantic, but I think I will not experience that, you know. Like in this John Lennon world, imagine there are no, I don't know, borders or whatever the guy sings. You know, I believe in that, you know, that human being will progress so far to come to that stage, you know. But until we get there, there will be many conflicts and many wars and many fears to get rid of, you know.
What did you learn from making The Cut your most expensive and ambitious film to date?
I learned from The Cut. I learned that the films who fail somehow in the public, you know, you learn much more from the film who have not that success than from the successful films. You know, you get like kind of like comfortable with too much success. You know, you know, success is something which erases your fears, or it can erase your fears. And a fear is always something what you can benefit from, you know. Not that the fear controls you, you know, but I was boxing for a while, and my coach always said to me, like, it's good to have fear, you know, but control it. And this is something what I learned, you know. I made The Cut with no fear of nothing. People beat the shit out of me, you know. So whenever I do film after The Cut, you know, I feel more scary.
How did you come to collaborate with screenwriter Martin on The Cut?
I became friend with Martin Scorsese over the years through certain, I don't know, meetings and connections and people who brought us together, and he saw my work and he liked it, and you know, and so when I decided to shoot the film in English, The Cut, I said, like, I need an American writer because I cannot write American dialogues. You know, I need somebody who's able to do that, and at the same time it would be good who knows that part of the world, the Middle East. And I remember that Martin was Armenian, because I read a lot about Scorsese, and I know that Scorsese's teacher in NYU in the 60s was Haik Manoukian, was an Armenian guy. And in his class, Martin, who was an Armenian from Iraq who moved to New York, and Scorsese, they were in the same class, so they became friends. Haik Manoukian was a very important teacher, you know. I respect Haik Manoukian so much that my hero's name in the film, in The Cut, is Manoukian, you know. So when this idea came up, me, my producer, we called the Scorsese people, and they made a connection to Mardik. And I called Mardik, and he was retired, and he wanted to do nothing to do with that, you know. So I called him again and again until he was angry and like, why don't you come here and tell me what your problem is. I think he didn't understand what I tried to say on the phone. My English is not that good. So I went to Los Angeles, and we immediately become close. So Martin is my Armenian, I don't know, uncle. You know.
How old is he now?
He's 80-something, 82, I think.
In the case of The Cut, did you ask your actors to please stick to the script?
No, not always. Not always. But, I mean, it was like, there was not so much dialogue in the film anyhow, because the guy's mute, you know, so it was more like physical acting, you know. So Tahar Rahim and me, we watched a lot of silent films, We studied a lot of Chaplin kind of stuff. You know, what the cut really is a tribute to cinema, you know, to my personal cinema, you know. That was not really understood or accepted, you know. So, well, fuck it. I mean, you know.
It's one of the films that I have the most questions about, so there's something that draws me to it. So I think a lot of people will be talking about the film for a long time.
I hope so. I like the film, you know, it's, I love it actually, it's my kid. The film is my kid. I'm very proud that I did it. The film costed 15 million euros, you know. Norhan produced it, you know, like Speedy Gonzalez, you know, getting money from all over the world. And everybody lost money, but we're not, you know, so it was a good deal for us. We also lost money, she said. Yeah, we have some money to pay back, that's right. But the company survived, we didn't get bankrupt, I mean, and that's something, no?
You must have known that the film was going to be controversial in Turkey because you avoided filming it there. Did you expect the response that you received?
I respected it, yes.
Did you expect it?
Yes, I expected it. Yeah, I expected it. I hoped the film would be more successful, so I think more people would have seen it there, you know, but I don't know, the moment the film was, the moment the screening started in Venice, where the film opened, they killed the film, you know, the moment the film opened, you know, it was a very important experience for me, but a very crucial one at the same time. And I think the film was, you know, if more people, especially young people in Turkey, would have seen the film, they could reflect their own past. And sometimes I don't believe in like conspiracy, not too much, you know, but sometimes I think so, you know, all these bad reviews, all these beating the shit of the film, made nobody wanted to see the film. So it was no chance for young Turkish audience to, I don't know, to be curious about the film. And I'm not speaking about the press in Turkey, it was worldwide. Even in Armenia, they beat the shit out of the film. So I think when everybody beat the shit out of a film must have something right, you know what I mean? If, you know, if everyone wants to have the ball, it means you have the ball in your hand, right?
What is the current status of your relationship with Turkey? Can you enter the country? Can you make films there again?
Oh, you have press people here, right? Let's don't God. I don't want to go into that.
Okay. No worries, no worries. Turkish-German relations in Germany are right now very intense. This past week, this is the diplomatic relations.
I read the newspaper and follow the news. It's like watching Breaking Bad. You know, like what is next? What is next? You know, what's happening tomorrow? You know.
You talked previously about the Turkish-German gap that exists. Do you still feel the need to address and analyze and mend this gap between your two countries in your films?
I don't mean it for me personally, but the society needs it.
But will you still address it in your films, in your future films? Or is that something that...
It will always pop up, I'm sure, you know. There was a while I did that a lot, and then there was a while I tried to get rid of it, and films like Chick and, I don't know, Soul Kitchen were kind of like way out of that, you know, that I can show the audience, hey, I also can do handcraft storytelling stuff, you know. But it always appears somehow. I don't think In the Fade is very much dealing with that, you know, just because her husband is Kurdish, you know. It's not dealing about the problems with German Turks stuff, not at all, I think. You know, if people want to make that connection, it's on the one hand very complex thought, and on the other hand too easy, you know. It's not that what was in my mind, you know. But it will always appear, yeah. I'm writing something where it is about, yeah. I'm writing something about people who went back from Germany to Turkey to build up a career, you know. And now when you see Berlin, you know, a lot of people, I don't know, leave the country, artists, especially artists, scientists, you know, I don't know, the intellectual elite, if you want. And now everybody's in Berlin, you know, and on the one hand, you know, for me this is very exciting, you know, because it's a chance for German cinema, you know, or German literature, or German culture, you know. They could really benefit out of it, like Hollywood was benefiting out of it when all the Jewish German had to leave the country, you know, because of Hitler and Nazi Germany. They went to Hollywood, you know, and somehow they reinvented Hollywood. They really put in a stamp on market, you know, which reached today. I wish that we in Germany could take the best out of this bad situation, you know.
In Mexico and in the US, we kind of have maybe it's not the same thing, but we have a similar dynamic, and you referenced it, I quote in the New York Times, about this Turkish-German gap and this Mexican-American gap that exists between our two countries and our two cultures. What do you think could be done to help mend this gap between the US and Mexico?
Oh, wow, difficult question. I don't know. You know this, you can, I don't know, maybe know this better. When I see this from outside, it's like, I don't know, societies like the States or Hungary or, I don't know, my motherland, you know, there's a lot of fear in those countries. You know, there are other societies who don't have too much fears, and there are societies who have a lot of fears. And politicians, they use this fear. Fear is a good, I don't know, fear is, you can use fear very easy. That's why horror films can be so easily successful. You know, dealing with fear, you know, it's easier to fear the people than to educate the people, you know what I mean? So, and politicians want to stay on power, they want to benefit out of that, you know? They want to keep the power, so what do? They create fear. And I think the only thing what we can do as societies, and I don't know how to do it, you know, maybe with films, maybe not, I don't know, with art, with culture, with brave journalism, I don't know, you know, support the newspapers, you know, everywhere, you know, maybe we can get rid of the fear, you know, so it's good to have it, like I said before in art, but it's good to control it, you know, not to get in panic, you know. This should be a film shot. We should speak about politics, you know. Like I should get voted, man. Make me president, you know. I don't know. I don't want to be a political filmmaker first. I want to be a storyteller. You know, When I was young, I wanted to change the world, but now like I have to deal with the world it is. You know, I mean, you know, I tell stories. You know, and maybe I go to Hollywood and make very stupid films there, you know, so no politics at all, you know, so maybe I do that, you know, I don't know. So it's, the problem with politics is, you know, you have an opinion, the theory, and automatically you have an antithesis, you know, and it depends on the subject you're working on. It can be very, very, very aggressive. You know, and the cinema should be a place. I would like to do that. You know, to bring everybody together. Or if it's not the cinema, then it's the stream. You know, and if it's not the stream, it's the television. You know what I mean? It's to connect it. You know, I don't want to. I try not to separate. I try not to be didactic. You know, I don't want to be political correct. You know, I made in the Fade, I don't know if you've seen it, I don't know, I ripped my ass off to make it not political correct, and we speak all about this political correctness here, you know. But go on.
I do want to talk about In the Fade. I hope most of our audience was able to see it last night. I don't want to spoil too much, but...
You know, it's like, when the cut was criticized, it was, I thought this is a film about the Armenian genocide? Where is the fucking genocide? You know, it's like, hey, man, wait a minute, you know, genocide is such a big fucking word. You know, this is a story about a father who's looking for his kids. Haven't you seen The Searchers by John Ford, man? You know, because this pops up, because I think it's good to inform people or make people curious, you know, it's bombed, the politics. Not by me, but by the media. With this, you know, I think, hey, it's a film about the mother, it's a film about the family, you know, it's a film about, you know, the grief of a mother, you know, but it ends up with this political element. I say, hey, yeah, okay, it is about racism. That was driving me to write it down, but it turned into a family film, you know. So it's media people sometimes, you know, make it too easy to just get on the political level, you know. If they're film critics, you see, there are other layers, the family layers, or cinema layers. Like, how did you shot this scene? I want to talk about that. You know what I mean? So. Go ask your question.
And in The Fade, the character that, the main character, is a lot like someone that we would hear on the news. You know, that we would hear the news, and it would be news from the war in the Middle East. You know? And but in this case, the character is white, Western. Were you trying to put the audience's shoes, put the audience in the shoes of a terrorist, and kind of ask them, you know, what would you do if your child was killed in a drone attack, or what would you do if your entire family was bombed during a wedding from a plane? Is this what you were trying to put us? Were you reacting to the Iraq war? And,
Yeah, sure. It's up to the audience, you know. It's not didactic, you know. Like, what are you trying to say? Some people ask, like, you should put bombs in. No, man. I mean, you know, it's up to you what you want to do. It's like, it's just an offer. It's an example. It's a film, you know. So when we have these terror attacks, you know, we hear a lot about who did it, you know, like Abu, I don't know who, you know, did it in Paris, you know, and then we see his father appearing in the news, like, my son was always a good son, and you know, and he was growing up in Paris in school, and we hear a lot about the murderers, but the victims, you know, they're like numbers, 47, you know, 122, this kind of stuff. And this is a film about, okay, who is that number? You know, who's the relative of that number? How a relative has to deal with that number. That was a chance to do a film about those who left over, you know. And yeah, it is about revenge also. One of the elements in the film is revenge, and their revenge is so deep in the human being. You know, a lot of wars we have, especially in the Middle East, are based upon revenge. Very simple, you know. Like, yeah, but you killed our prophet then and there, you know, and they still bump each other. You know, it's revenge, you know. So it's an example who shows like how violent creates violence, you know. But some people get disturbed by it because the way the film is shot is so real, you know. It's not, you know, they believe the shit, so they are disturbed, you know. So, which is a compliment for my work. I consider it as a compliment.
You partially answered my next question, which was, do you fear that with this ending you might be justifying a never-ending circle of violence?
It's up to the audience. You know? It's not a justifying thing. Somebody has to stop it. You know, it's like smoking cigarettes. You know, it's an addiction. You know, it's I studied that because I tried to get rid of it. You know, so you smoke until the next cigarette, until the next cigarette. You will never stop smoking if you don't stop smoking. So you have to break the chain. You know, so now we're in the non-smoking seminar. You know? Yeah, you know, somebody has to stop that shit, you know, with the bombs and the smokes, and, you know, somebody has to stop it. We have to get rid of it, you know. Somebody has to say, wait, I'm tired of this, you know. But I think they are. I think they might be close, but maybe this is very naive, because when you see this country, you know, like Israel and it's not Israel, I mean the area, you know, between Morocco and, I don't know, Afghanistan, you know, all this area since 2,000 years, you know, the people kill each other, it's my property, your property, my property, your property. I was here first, no, I wasn't here, but it was promised to me, no, it was promised to me, you know. Somebody has to say, hey, come on, man, let's go. You know, why don't we smoke a joint? You know.
You seem to have set a pattern of making making a personal short film, like Soul Kitchen, followed by documentaries such as Garbage and The Garden of Eden, and then attempting to make more ambitious films such as The Cut. Does this mean that you have another documentary you plan to follow up in the fate?
I would like to do a film about sports, sport documentary. Documentary is always very relaxing to do. You know, it's another kind of job. I prefer actually my documentaries. You know, if all of my films are children, you know, all the fiction films are like the boys, you know, and my documentaries are the girls. And as a father, I'm closer to the girls. You know, yeah, it's. I'm waiting to get a new girl, but I don't have a subject. Sport somehow. Sport is interesting to me.
Do you find that documentary making kind of clears your mind and just kind of
Yeah.
loosens you up?
You don't deal with agents.
Yeah.
You know, that's and they're cheaper. You have less partners to negotiate with.
You work with a smaller crew.
Yeah.
Everything's more simple.
Everything is more simple. Keep it simple.
I read somewhere that you at one point wanted to do a children's film. Is that still happening?
I like kids. I'm good with kids. You know, I mean, Goodbye Berlin is a teenager film, and in Solino, I think I worked with small children who were like, I don't know, 8 years old. My son had an idea for a screenplay, and he was 8 at that time, and I tried to convince the writer for that. It turned out to become very expensive because it's, I don't know, with ghosts and stuff, CGI. I cannot finance it, you know, because it's too expensive. So, working with kids is challenging you different. It's less bullshit, you know. It's simpler too. Kids have more imagination, you know, and I don't know. I like to be surrounded by kids.
You seem to be open to trying new things, like Goodbye Berlin, where you were director for hire. Have you considered directing a series or working with a VOD platform and shooting a project that's completely different from what you've done up until now?
Goodbye Berlin was a good example for me, you know, is to divide my work into 2 parts somehow. It's like I have the auteur in me, you know, who's doing films like In the Fade or Head On, you know, and I have the director in me, who's doing films like Soul Kitchen is an auteur film, but it's coming close to a director's film. Chick is completely a director's film. You know, this Italian film I did was a director film, and I learned more or other stuff when I just work as a director, and I can benefit from what I have learned from the films as a director, you know, for the films I do as an auteur, you know. So I like the switching of it, and I can't imagine I would do it more and more, because the older I get, the more picky I am with screenplays, also with myself. So in my youth, I could write and write and write and write, and I could, I don't know, write every 2 years or every year a screenplay. But now my writing rhythm becomes like, I don't know, Stanley Kubrick kind of shit, you know, like every 8 years or every 5 years of screenplays. But I don't want to shoot every 5 or 8 years, you know. So I would exact other films in between. Yeah. You know, I have kids, I have to feed them. You know, it's my profession. You know, it's my bread, if you want. You know? So don't take it too serious. You know. Plus, I don't want to be really like a slave of people see me, you know, like can be a very cruel place, you know. I didn't make the experience for myself, but I saw other directors, you know, and you know, big time names in the art house or in the cinema circle who have like important festivals as a platform, and if their films doesn't succeed in a platform like that, the films are killed, the films are done, the films are, I don't know, bang bang goodbye, you know. It's and I don't want to, I would like to give my films other chances, you know. So I love Cannes, it's very important for my career, you know. It's an important circle which I definitely have to support because Cannes supports the cinema, you know. But on the other hand, I have to create a space where I'm not dependent on it, you know. And if you ask me for serial, I don't have the patience to write stuff forever, you know. After a while, I would get bored if I would do a serial. It would feel like going to a bank and, I don't know. I know this from other directors who do serials, and I ask them, friends of mine, like, how is it? It's like going to a bank, man, you know. And I would like to pervert for me the innocence or the magic or the beautiness of my work. I never want to lose that.
You talked about your writing schedule and how you work with teams of writers or different types of writers. And can you tell us a little bit about how you work?
Mostly I write the first drafts, and mostly I write it alone, you know. But from I have like people surround me who give me advices, you know, like, and sometimes they give so many advices that I give them credit for writing, you know. In the case of Goodbye Berlin, there was a screenplay already, but it wasn't good. So I rewrote it by myself. Once I rewrote it, I came back with 2 other writers, and we rewrote together what I have rewritten, whatever. You know, so it depends on the material, you know. Sometimes if it's something what I want to write alone, where I know I can express this better, or I can do this faster if I'm alone, I do it alone. But sometimes I know, okay, I can trust this writer, you know, so I let her or him write something and I can go over it or do a rewrite of it. So I start to trust more and more writer. But since I start to trust the director in me, I do this, you know.
Do you still box?
No. I had 2 surgeries, you know, because I box too much, you know, and I cannot do it anymore. So after a while, my body doesn't allow it.
Have you ever wanted to make a movie about boxing?
Every director should do it. Male director especially, or male, woman, doesn't matter. You know, I think boxing is a very visual, it's a very cinematographic, it has a lot to do with filmmaking. That's why I boxed, you know. I had the idea that when I learn something from boxing, I can use it for filmmaking. And I did, actually, you know. Like, you know, when the cut, you know, was beaten down, you know, it felt like, you know, the fight, Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, the first fight in New York, in the 14th round, where Joe Frazier hit Ali with an uppercut on his chin. And that was so heavy, you know. Joe Frazier put all his body into it, you know. And Ali fell down, but immediately he stood up, immediately. And that was when I had the experience with the cut, you know, like, you have to be like Muhammad Ali, man. You have to stand up, man. Go for another round, you know. So, yeah, I would like to. You see, I would like to love to do a film about boxing.
Does DJ Super Django still make club appearances?
I changed my name now as a DJ. Now I'm Radio Bombero, you know. And I do it less because I'm getting old, you know.
Where do you DJ?
In Hamburg. Not so often, you know, mostly on private parties. But sometimes DJ colleagues call me, you know, because I'm a bit celebrity there. You know, hey, come, let's DJ together, you know. But don't put my name on it. It's right, Radio Bombero, you know. So they don't put my name on it, but they put a photo on it, you know. So.
You play vinyl from your personal collection?
I prefer to work with a tablet because I had a slipping disc once, you know, because carrying all the vinyl with me back and forth, you know, and let friends of mine carry the vinyl, you know, my mules, you know. So I like the tablet because it's, you know, you put the cable on and you have like this wonderful applications, you know, and the mixes sound very good, you know. But now it's this revival of vinyl, you know. So if colleagues invite me to DJ with them, they say, hey, it's strictly vinyl, you know. Okay, good. I need the car, you know, so I cannot drink, you know. Yeah.
What type of music do you play?
On vinyl, mostly black music. Black music.
Soul, Motown.
Yeah. Hip hop. I don't have too many electronic vinyls, so I don't do vinyl electronic. But funk works good, you know. Yeah, black music.
Cool. So we're gonna open up to